This is my grandfather, James Patrick Brothers. In 1917, he secured a position working with his father on the J&A Brown tug Champion. Shortly afterwards, he transferred to the paddle wheel tug Kaputai. On the Kaputai, he often sailed down the south coast of New South Wales, offering tows to becalmed sailing ships. Another task carried out by the Kaputai was the unwinding of ships around their anchor chains. This involved attaching a line to the stern of the ship and winding the ship around the anchor chain to remove twists and enabling the anchor to be hoisted. On one occasion, the tow line parted and the Kaputai surged forward and rammed the adjoining ship named the Malusia. As a result of that incident, he became acquainted with the crew of the Malusia, to which he transferred as a brass boy. From the Malusia, he transferred to the North Coast Steam Navigation Company's ship Coolabah. It is a result of that transfer that leads me to undertake this journey today. While the main trade of the Coolabah was to Grafton on the Clarence River, she also journeyed as far as Lismore on the Richmond River, Kempsey on the Macleay River, and on occasion to Taree on the Manning River. I bought the Pamela B with the express purpose of following in his wake on the Northern River system. Following his time on the Coolabah, he subsequently sailed on a number of ships, including the Burwah, the Olamuroa, and the Maluna, this boat being a prize of war seized by the Commonwealth Government from Germany at the end of World War I. His career at sea ended in 1931 when he married my grandmother. So the trip today is from Harrington at the mouth of the Manning River up as far as Wingham, which was the furthest extent of coastal shipping up the Manning River. The trip this weekend will involve heading up the northern reach of the Manning River, past the village of Crokai, then on to the village of Cundletown, where the Manning intersects with the Dawson River, before sailing past Taree and on to the old steamship wharf at Wingham, which is the furthest extent of steamship travel up the Manning River. That wharf has recently been restored. The return trip will involve heading down the southern reach of the Manning River, thus completing a circumnavigation of Damarick Island before returning to Harrington. This is not the first time that I have sailed these waters, but it has been a long time between drinks. The photo on screen is my last attempt to sail the river, being the Taree Regatta in 1968. The photo is of me launching my brand new Sabo Arunta for the first time. The trip today commences near the northern breakwater at the entrance to the Manning River at Harrington. This is the northern breakwater and was constructed between 1895 and 1904. The southern breakwater was never constructed. With increasing shipping entering the Manning River, a need arose for a pilot to guide ships over the dangerous bar, and a pilot station was constructed at Harrington in 1861. There are approximately 44 shipwrecks in the vicinity of the entrance to the Manning River. While this might suggest it was a very dangerous bar, and of course it was, the figures are quite relative, and by way of example, both Newcastle and Sydney have approximately 300 shipwrecks off the entrances to their harbours. Well, here we are. We've just left the boat ramp at Harrington. And I can't remember whether I've locked the car, so I'm going to have to go back. Okay, so we've recovered from the failing to lock the car incident. And fortunately, a lovely lady on the waterbank volunteered to run up to the car and lock it for me, so I didn't have to get out of the boat. And we're now heading down the channel from the Harrington boat ramp, and what you see in front here is the Manning River, and the tide is just starting to come in, and the far shore over there is Manning Point, where I actually considered launching the boat, and in hindsight Yeah, maybe I should have. So anyway, the adventure is about to begin. So we're just going to turn down the river here just to avoid the sandbanks in front of us. Yeah, this isn't the way to go. I've got to go around the other side of this boy. I don't know what happened to the 10 to 15 knot winds predicted, but as you can see, there's almost nothing. And I think the target of reaching Wingham is now totally unrealistic. We'll be lucky to get to Taree. Well, the breeze has finally kicked back in again, but of course it's swung around to perfectly align with the next stretch of the river, so it's uphill all the way, unfortunately. So I suspect Taree will be my target, not Wingham. As you are aware, the Paradox does not have a centreboard. I've read that the designer, Matt Leyden, first got the idea of building a boat without any centreboard or keel from observing the wingless flying body aircraft developed by NASA. They are not the only boats that don't have centreboards. For example, the Hobie 16 catamarans also do not have a centreboard, and they gain their lift by an asymmetrical hull form. However, the design of the Paradox is not asymmetric, and it is somewhat of a mystery as to the process by which lateral resistance is obtained. The modelling of the hull design that I have done using the Delft ship program indicates essentially that the Paradox is in many ways a long-keeled keelboat, although a close examination of the waterline at an angle of heel does indicate that there is asymmetric form to the shape of the hull when heeled, coupled with a very deep slab side of the boat in the water, assisted by the end plate effect of the chind runners. There is also no doubt that the large rudder, coupled with the rig shifted towards the rear end of the boat, also plays a part in providing lateral resistance. Whatever the reason is, the overall package does seem to work. It's not too far to go before we've reached Croci, which I intended to get to about 3 hours ago. But unfortunately, The wind just hasn't been here today. And we've still got the benefit of the tide flowing in. If you sort of look at this cardinal marker in front of us here, you can see we're being swept up the river, which is quite helpful because the wind isn't doing a great deal to help. In the meantime, the navigator down here is just totally lost interest and gone to sleep. Croquet was the location of an annual regatta from about 1900 to 1930. The event featured professional rowing races, and wagers and betting were commonplace. Opposite Croquet on Mitchell's Island is the location of the Mitchell Island Butter Factory. It was originally opened on the 18th of February 1893, but in 1913 there were serious concerns raised by the Department of Health, and a court case resulted in an order that the factory be closed. A new factory, which still stands today, was erected and opened on Saturday the 30th of November 1918. Well, here we are. We've advanced about half a kilometre up the river from Croquet. I'm hoping to get to Cundletown before the sun sets. I've now given up on getting to Taree, and you can undoubtedly see the reason why. There is just no wind at all. Well, here's a bit of luck. We've got a breeze blowing in. So Cundletown's now probably achievable under sail alone. And one of the more interesting discoveries today was the addition of the extra solar panel. I noted a little bit at the beginning with the sail when there was hardly any wind, and I don't know, I probably motored for over an hour with the electric outboard, and as of a few minutes ago, it's fully recharged. So certainly the extra 50-watt panel has made an enormous difference.
It's 3:15 and I'm within striking distance of Cundletown. And I may even be tempted to attempt to get to Taree. It's an amazingly peaceful river. There's probably only seen 2 or 3 powerboats all day. Well, we're almost at literally the fork in the road. The clump of trees you can see in front there that are a bit shaded. The Manning River divides into 2 here, and that's the beginning of Demarrick Island. Well, I've given up on the wind. It's probably less than about 2 or 3 knots now, and the sun is getting low in the sky, so I want to make it to at least Cundletown. So here we are, the Pacific Highway. Cundletown is just beyond the second bridge that you can see underneath the highway bridge. See from the pylons that the tide is just starting to run out. Well, this is Cundletown, and we might go looking for a place to anchor and spend the night here. Cundletown once had a thriving government dock and dockyard. The dry dock at Cundletown opened in 1898. It operated almost continuously until 1970, when the dry dock was filled in. The operation of the dry dock was tidal in nature. Boats were floated in at high tide and allowed to settle on cradles erected on the base of the dry dock as the tide receded. When the tide was at its lowest point, boards were placed across the entrance to the dry dock and a small steam engine used to pump out the remaining water and to keep the bottom of the dry dock dry while the boat was being worked on. That's the lights of Taree that you can see directly in front, which is where I'll be spending the night. The electric outboard has been quite impressive this trip. I looked a moment ago and I've been running it for nearly an hour and a half and I've still got 70% of the charge left. So I'll be able to get an early start tomorrow even if there's no wind. The solar chargers are quite capable of fully recharging it. So here it's cooking dinner on a paradox. It's beef stroganoff tonight. Pre-cooked. Hopefully it will warm up pretty quickly because I'm starving. So we've got to Taree very late in the day. And as you can see, I am anchored pretty much off the rowing club over there and the aquatic club up there, and I'm just on the other side of the river. And Georgie's very anxious here to eat my dinner, but she'll have to wait. So for anybody wondering how you sleep in a paradox, this is it. Basically an inflatable mattress, sleeping bag. There is just enough room for me to lie on the floor. And the only real problem is fighting with Georgie over who gets the mattress. The fight has not yet begun tonight, but at some stage it will happen. So anyway, this is it. It's been a very long day, approximately 30 kilometres up the river, and it's good night from me and good night from her. And I'll just quickly turn off the light. Taree was once a very busy river port. However, its decline commenced with the arrival of the railway on the 4th of February 1913. Coastal shipping, however, continued to visit Taree until approximately 1941, when most of the ships belonging to the North Coast Steam Navigation Company were requisitioned by the Royal Australian Navy for the war effort. Taree was, however, home to other types of shipping, including the paddle wheeler Manning, which is still sitting at the end of Macquarie Street, Taree. There were also a number of droggers plying their trade on the Manning River. A drogger is essentially a flat-bottom punt powered by steam driving paddle wheels. The last drogger in use on the Manning River was the Bellbird, which ceased operations in 1973. It's a shame I didn't make it all the way to Wingham. Wingham was literally the end of the line for North Coast shipping. Certainly these days, the low bridge prevents further progress upstream. One of the frequent visitors to Wingham was the steamship Electra. This ship was the first ship in Australia to have a generator on board and have electric lights. On the 2nd of November 1900, the Electra departed Wingham with a famous passenger on board, the notorious outlaw Jimmy Governor, who was conveyed to Sydney, where he was tried and sent to Dubbo Jail, where he was hung on the 14th of January 1901. Well, here we are, Taree. It's about 7:10 in the morning. And like this whole trip has been, there's not a boat to be seen. It's quite remarkable. So anyway, at this point I've had my shower with my hot shower, so I'm quite fresh for the day. I have a toilet on board, but there's actually a public toilet just over at the rowing club, so I'm just going to duck over there and take Georgie ashore, and then we'll be on our way. As you might be able to see, the boat has a wake already. The tide's started to run out, so it's going to be a relatively quick trip back to Harrington, I hope, even though there's not a lot of wind. So here we are leaving the Taree Aquatic Club. All the morning joggers. I'll come around over here and see our friend the pelican from yesterday. Okay, we're now going to give a bit of a demonstration on how you hoist sail on a paradise. And it is fundamentally quite simple. You basically just take up a bit of slack on the halyard. You then pull on the topping lift, which pretty much pulls the boom up. You get it right, lift it up. There's only one manual outdoor task you have to perform, and you'll see me do it. And it's just to unhook the line there. And it's then just a matter of you let off that one and then pull on this one. Then let off the topping lift, and our work here is done. Reefing the sail is the reverse process. You simply ease off the halyard and pull on the roller. So it's farewell Taree, until next time. Aren't you supposed to be the navigator? Shouldn't you be looking at the map over here? You're still not looking at the map. You're going to have a bit of a reconnoitre, are you? The river that you can see coming in straight ahead in front of the camera there is the southernmost arm of the Manning River, which enters the sea at Old Bar. And everything that you see in front of the camera is an island that forms part of a river delta. And what's not commonly known is that there are in fact only 2 rivers in the world that have a delta like this. And the Manning River is the only one of them in the southern hemisphere. And the only other river in the world like it is the Nile in Egypt. Anybody's looking for firewood, there's no shortage of it here. The river inlet over on the far shore is another tributary of the Manning, which also goes down to enter the ocean at Old Bar. Well, we've finally got a little bit of wind and we're hooting along at around about 3 knots. Here we are. We have almost completed our circumnavigation of Damarick Island. The water you can see in front is the northern arm of the Manning River, and we're just coming out of the southern arm. Well, we've completed the circumnavigation. We're out on the main channel. And a very nice breeze blowing in the right direction has kicked in. So here we are at Croci again. Well, once again, we have lost the wind. Well, we're now in the unfortunate position of, even though there is wind behind us, it's not enough to push against the current. And as you can see, we are slowly but surely heading back to Taree backwards. Well, I had to give up. This little part of the river, as it did on the way up, just has no wind at all, so I'm motoring around the bend. But as you can see in front, it looks like the breeze might be filling in again, so I will motor up, get past these lunatics on the jet ski that have been making life a misery, and once I get heavily into the breeze, I'll pull the sails up again. Well, we've got a breeze. The only problem is it's directly the direction of the river, and the tide is now coming in, so it's even though there's a bit of wind, as you can see, we're sliding sideways a lot owing to the tide coming in. Well, we're getting pretty close to Harrington now, but this wind is all over the place. Comes in fairly massive gusts, and I'm really pleased with the way this new sail is going. I'm getting really good tacking angles. The boat tacks, doesn't go into irons like it used to with the other sail. There you have the little village of Manning Point. There is the entrance to the Manning. Breakwater on the left-hand side, and the sand dunes in front are the the beach heading up towards Crowdy Head, I believe. Anyway, that's the end of a bit of an adventure. Down sail, and we're just heading up the creek. As you can see, this is a tricky little place because of the number of oyster leases. Not much room down the middle. I think next time I'll be going to Manning Point. Anyway, the navigator's getting very keen to get off the boat, as am I for that matter. But it's been an adventure, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.